What's up, everybody? It's the Power Rankings Podcast, aka the Power Rankings Show. I'm your host, Elliot Harrison. I'm pleased to be joined with a very hungry at Marcus _ Mosher. Hello, sir.
Elliot, I just had like 3 little bags of fruit snacks, some cocoa melon fruit snacks. I'm doing well.
And you're going to get wings tonight. Tommy, what wingy?
I think that the wife, I just heard her put the kibosh on that. So I don't know about that's actually happening. But how are you doing today?
The wife. Is that how we do it now? The wife?
Yeah.
Ah, boy. How does she feel about all this? Like, I wonder sometimes.
I'm really, really trying not to get divorced before wildcard weekend because I'm excited for football.
I'm going to turn on my charger in your honor.
Yeah. So
there we go. Oh,
yeah.
There it goes. Ding. Sweet. Well, we have more to talk about than your marital woes. That's WOES. Today, we got picks. I've got a hot sports opinion to get fresh out of the oven. And as usual, if you guys are new joining us, I don't ever know the spreads. I don't look at them because Marcus doesn't want me to. So then I have to react to the spreads. And sometimes they're really odd. Like last week, we had a crazy number of low totals. Kind of wondering what the totals are going to be like this week. I'm more interested in that, I think, than I am the spreads on some of these games because I have a pretty good feel who's going to win all these games. But with that said, what are we starting off with? You have a hot opinion you need to get out there?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. So we've got 6 games this weekend, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. Do you think there is a single spread or single point total that's in the 50s this week?
There should be. There should be one, I think. I think Chargers Jags should be 50.
Okay.
I do. It's not. I know. I'm sure it's
historically, wildcard weekend is a higher scoring weekend than like the divisional round. So we will have 1 or 2 games that has a lot of points scored. Which one will it be? That's to be determined. Let's get to our first game, Elliot. Seattle at San Francisco. 49ers, 9.5 point favorites in this game.
I don't have a problem with that. The 49ers got some key components back. Seattle really hasn't looked good for a month. They didn't back into the playoffs. I mean, they beat the Rams, but it wasn't exactly a dominant performance, Marcus. I mean, we're looking at a 9-8 team here going to maybe the toughest out in football right now. I'm fine with the spread.
Yeah. How disappointed are you going to be, though, the 49ers lose this game?
Incredibly, because they play my favorite style of football of any team in the league. And I don't like seeing 6 and 7 seeds get really hot and go to the Super Bowl. It's not my favorite thing. So no, I don't want to see Seattle, Buffalo in the Super Bowl. No, thank you.
Point total for this one, 42.5. Actually, to me, that feels a little low.
It feels low to me too. With Seattle, I know people talk about the Seattle Patriots Super Bowl as being an all-timer all the time. Was Seattle Broncos one of the worst 3 Super Bowls ever?
Oh, yeah, because it was over there. It was over like in the first 4 minutes of that game. Yeah,
and a horrific uni matchup. But anyway,
all right, next
Good
game,
stuff.
Saturday night, 8:15 Eastern time. Chargers at Jacksonville to take on the. Do you say Jaguars? Jaguar? I don't know.
Jaguars.
I don't know.
Yeah, not like that. Not Jaguars.
Chargers 1.5 point favorites on the road.
Yeah, I feel like this point total should be 50. I would have this at least at 50.5 at least. Vegas may have put it in the high 40s, but that's where I would put it. As far as the Chargers being favored, I don't love that. I'm going to take Jacksonville here to win outright.
First of all, point total is 47.5. I think with both of these quarterbacks making their first start, I think I think Vegas is maybe a little bit hesitant to put this high. Also, the defenses have been playing really good for both of these teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get like a 24-21 type of game.
I mean, let's just be real here that the Jags played Josh Dobbs last week. The Chargers lost and they played a terrible offense. Sure. So I I'm not down with Vegas on this one. I would definitely take the over here. But how are you feeling about this game, just straight up matchup wise?
I think I'm going to take the Chargers here, to be honest.
I knew you would. I knew you would. You talk up Trevor Lawrence, you talk him
I
up,
do.
and you talk him up, and then when he plays the Cowboys, you're like, I'm picking the Cowboys.
It's just
when he plays that,
like I love Trevor Lawrence, and he's just such a unique quarterback. And then he looks across the sideline. It's like everything that he hopes to be in the NFL. And Justin Herbert, right?
Is this like the "What's up, brah"? Game
this is like the look
weekend?
in the mirror, like the look in the mirror game, right? Like these are the two carbon copies of each other.
The Spider-Man's pointing at each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, next one. Yeah. Sunday afternoon game. I might be there. So Miami Dolphins at Buffalo. Yeah. Not great seats, but I'll be there. Dolphins at Bills. So when I sent this line into Courtney today, it was 9.5. Since then, it's gone up to 13. Buffalo is favored by 13 in this game.
Ooh. Hey.
So we've got some news, right? Tua has been ruled out.
Steep. Okay.
Tua has been ruled out. Skylar Thompson has been announced as a starter. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the backup. And Micah Hyde practiced today, Elliot.
Yeah, I if I were the Bills, I'd sit him. I would sit him.
Sounds like that's the plan, by the way, just to get him practicing this week, maybe practicing next week, and then we'll see.
This could be a runaway game. It could be 30-13, which makes me curious about the total. In fact, that's about where I would put the total, is at 43.
And that's what it is, 43.5.
Yeah.
Good job.
I'm okay. If you want to bet Buffalo covering, you probably have a better chance on the total. At least I would, because if you, like we've talked about many times on this podcast, if you can guess the total, you shouldn't bet on it. Any disagreement there?
No. I would just take Buffalo outright in this game. I know the odds aren't great, but I would take them to cover too. You tell me how Miami wins this game. Like what does Miami have to do to win this game?
I think they have to get a great game from their running backs. That's how they win this game.
And Mostert's been running so well, but he's unlikely to play due to a hand. He broke his hand last week.
And that really, really hurts. Do you remember when they played about a month ago, maybe not even a month ago, Mostert was running right through him, through him. I think he did have a fumble in that game, or one of their backs did, but he had over 100 yards, like I think at halftime or something like that. And they were having a really hard time, but without him, I don't like their other backs as much. Mostert had a sneaky good year, I might add. Yeah. By the way, these teams have not played in the playoffs as much as you might think. They played in 1990, though, in a shootout between Jim Kelly and Dan Marino in the snow. It was light snow. It was like snow and ice, but classic game. Just throwing it out there.
I just feel bad for Miami. Like their last two playoff appearances, they had to play this week, Skylar Thompson, and then the previous one was in 2016.
Matt Moore.
And that was Matt Moore because Ryan Tannehill got hurt late in the season. I think it was a concussion as well. They haven't had their starting quarterback going into a playoff game since 2008. It's a bummer.
Which would have been Chad Pennington. They lost that game. I'm trying to remember who Miami lost to in 2008. It'll come to me. I want to say it was Baltimore they lost to that year. I believe it was.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think Matt Moore actually acquitted himself okay in Pittsburgh in 2016. Pittsburgh team went to the AFC Championship and major weekend.
He played well in that game, but he also got knocked out due to a concussion in that game. Yeah. So it's a bummer. All right, next one.
Who came in? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Nice internal burp hold there, though, by you. Very clutch. Next game.
I wasn't burping. I was sighing. I was just coming out the side of my mouth. Giants at Vikings. Vikings, 3-point favorites.
I'm actually interested in this game. I'm very interested in this game because I think the Giants have a real shot. I do. And boy, would you like nothing better than if the Giants went into Minnesota and won.
But it's, well, for a couple different reasons. Number one, you had the Vikings way too high on your power rankings. And number two, it would help my Cowboys. Again. But that's just,
here we go again.
Just
okay. I mean, if Minnesota had a bunch of 6-inch Dak Prescotts, they would easily win this game. But without that, I don't see it happening. Actually, I think this is the perfect spread. I think this is
I
what
agree.
Minnesota wins by. I don't expect the Giants to come out flat in this game. I don't.
No, I don't either. But I can see a scenario where the Vikings just run the Giants off the field, right? Where they don't have the defensive backs to cover Justin Jefferson. They get up 21-3, and the Giants just aren't built to play that style of game. So I will take the Vikings to cover and win outright, but we'll see.
Is it possible to you that the Giants with the rested Daniel Jones, and when I'm thinking rested, I'm talking about his legs, and Saquon Barkley, that the Giants could end up having a 150 rush yard day and make this game limit the amount of possessions? And if Kirk Cousins comes out cold like the Vikings are wont to do, maybe they run out of those late possessions to win this game or to pull away.
I mean, that's going to have to be the formula for the Giants, right? Run the ball.
But they've got the personnel to do it.
Yeah. They just need to muck this game up until the fourth quarter, right? Just keep it close, and then we'll see what happens.
Didn't Minnesota win this game on like a 61-yard field goal?
In New York, this was like, what, on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, I actually think this game was in Minnesota.
Maybe it was in Minnesota.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Next
Good
one.
game. Yeah.
By the way, the total for that one, 48, the highest of the weekend.
That is surprising. Given that the Giants rested their guys, I think they are going to run the ball. That running the ball limits possessions because most of the time you get tackled in bounds. Yep. That's part of what does it. That's going to be a tough total to reach in this game, I think. But they reached it, I think, last time they played. So
next one, Sunday night football game, Ravens at Bengals. When I sent this one into Courtney, it was Bengals by 7.5. Since then, the line has moved up to Bengals by 8.5. I think part of the reason is Lamar Jackson did not practice today. Seems very unlikely that he's going to play. Tyler Huntley also did not practice today.
Yeah, this would be a stay away for me, an absolute stay away, because I do think if either one of those guys play, this is too high a spread. I'm talking about 8.5. At least for me, it is. This is a division matchup. This is a game that Cincinnati lost earlier in the year when both teams were playing their starters. And I don't want to see Baltimore has Cincinnati's number, but I do think
they kind of do.
They play them extremely tough. Cincinnati's offense had a hard time against Baltimore. Granted, that game was in Baltimore. What are you thinking here?
I like the Bengals to win, but that's a big spread because it feels like Baltimore. The only way Baltimore can keep this game close is to run the ball, play defense, and get turnovers. I'm a little bit nervous about the Bengals' right side of their offensive line. No Lyle Collins, no Alex Kappa. I think the Bengals win like a 23-16 type of game.
Which leads me to my next point. I think this should be the lowest total of the weekend in terms of Vegas.
It is. It's 40.5.
40.5. Boy, I think you could go under that, don't you? I'd be more inclined to go under that than I would to go Bengals by more than 8.5. If I was going to do one or the other.
I agree with you. Yes. We're on the same page there. But we both like the Bengals to win that game outright. Definitely stay away from the spread. Monday night game.
Okay.
Cowboys at Buccaneers.
Should be interesting.
We've been knowing that this game was going to happen for a while. Go ahead and guess the spread.
Well, I mean, the Cowboys are a clear-cut top 3 team in the league, according to you.
That's not true.
With fantastic coaching the last few weeks, those players are really afraid of their head coach and exquisite quarterback play. It's all Ezekiel Elliott's fault. All the normal things. Right. Yeah, exactly. They should just blame. I think they should just cut Zeke right now. Just cut him. Yeah. Get out there. Who could they pull from their past? Who was Emmitt Smith's fullback? Robert Thomas. Maybe they could.
Maybe I'd have the same amount of juice at this point in the season. I'm sure.
Were you a Lusaka Polite guy?
No. I was a Tony Fiamella guy.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's a great pull right there. All right.
Okay, I want you to guess
this spread. All right.
It's Tom Brady at home.
Yeah, it's Cowboys are favored. There's no doubt in my mind. It's whether the Cowboys are favored by 3.5 or not. But it's either 2.5 or 4.5. It's in that range. I'm going to go 3.5. I'm going to go Dallas favored by 3.5.
Started at 3. It's down to Cowboys by 2.5.
Okay. Okay. I was close. This is another total. Honestly, I wouldn't put too high up there. The way Dallas's offense looked last week, the way Tampa Bay's offense has looked the whole year. I don't think this is in the 40.5 range, but it's in my mind, it shouldn't be that much higher than this, even though the Cowboys have scored a lot of points this year. I think 42.5 might be a little low though. I'm going to go 43.5, 44.5 in that range. It's got to be
45.5. A little
you
high.
Think they get? Fine. You think they get there?
Yeah, I do. I think this ends up being like a 24-21 game.
So they don't get there.
I mean, you're talking about half a point though. It's just the whole reason why you stay away, right?
Yeah, this is tough. God, this game's a hard one to pick. It's the hardest one to pick of the weekend. Because at 2.5, to me, that's almost like going straight up here.
Yeah, you're just picking the winner. I don't care about the spread at this point.
I'm going to go ahead and give me your pick first, although I know what it is.
I'm going to take the Cowboys to win.
I'm shocked.
Are you really?
No, not at all.
Because normally I pick against the Cowboys. I don't know. This to me truly feels like a coin flip game. The only reason why I'm hesitant to pick Tampa here is I just don't see their offense pulling away, right? Like they ran the ball so well against the Cowboys in the first game and they scored 19 points, right? Like unless they're getting a lot of big plays down the field, it seems like 24 points is the most that they can score. And we've seen the Cowboys this year, like they can get hot for a half a quarter and score 21 points. So I think this comes down to the last possession. I think it's just one of those type of games.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna go with you on this. Partially because I want you to have a good football weekend and not whine to me about how it was the ref's fault or everything.
I haven't complained about officials once with the Dallas game this year. I've gotten better. Worked on it.
I'm gonna guess Micah Parsons comes back. He's hearing the noise. I think DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be playing for a little bit of professional pride as well. He hasn't been great the last month of the season. Those two guys, I think, will impose their will against a Tampa Bay offensive line that has its problems, man.
Yep.
Boy, this is a really tough. How about Dallas 23-20?
I could see that.
That's where I'm going. Yeah, Brett Maher for the win.
All right. So let's go through the games really quickly. Seahawks, 49ers. We both like the 49ers to win. I think they'll cover that spread. I think you're maybe a little bit more cautious about that one.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Chargers, Jaguars. I'm taking the Chargers. You're taking the Jags.
Yep.
Okay. Dolphins, Bills. We both like the Bills to win outright. I would take the Bills to cover. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not touching the spread because I guessed it. So not touching it.
Giants.
I mean the total. My bad.
Total.
Keep going. Yeah.
Giants, Vikings. I will take the Vikings to win and cover.
I will too, but this. Yeah. I got a feeling about this game, man. I
think of all the games, this is gonna be the wildest game. It's gonna be the wildest of the 6 games. I got a feeling.
I'm thinking about changing my pick on that one. Okay, next up,
Ravens at Bengals. We both like the Bengals to win, but stay away from the spread. Yeah. Cowboys, Bucks. We both think this is going to be a very, very close game. If we had to pick one side, we'd pick Dallas. But yeah, Cowboys -2.5. What do you think?
So I think of the two things I like the most here. First of all, 3 things I like the most. If we're just talking about the most exciting game, I like Jags Chargers of this entire slate of games. Saturday night game, which is always really cool. The two betting things that I think I like the most here is I like the Bengals Ravens under. Okay. Just refresh me. Was that 40.5 on that one?
40.5. Yep.
Yeah. Give me the under on that and the 49ers to cover. I'm really coming around on that. So those would be my 2 favorites.
Which is funny because both of those bets were what I included in my teaser of the week. So if you go on Bovada, wherever you bet, you can do a 7-point teaser at +130, which means you bet $100, you win $130.
I like that.
Which would be you take the 49ers down 7 points to -2.5 over Seattle. which they'll cover. You take the Buccaneers plus 7 points on the line. So they just have to either win outright or stay within 9.5 points, which I think they will. And then you take the under 40.5 and you move it up to 47.5. I just don't see how 48 points are scored in that game.
What if you just did something with just the two that I said? How would you do that? Just with the 49ers covering and with the under on Ravens Bengals.
Same thing. So it would be, if you kept that same 7-point teaser, it would be minus 140, which again, same bet. 49ers minus 2.5, Bengals Ravens under 47.5.
So it's actually more advantageous to just do those two.
Well, it's minus 130 compared to plus 130.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That Dallas Tampa one, that still kind of scares me. I don't
9.5.
I'll be honest,
at home. At home,
I know.
for Tampa,
I don't.
That's a lot of points.
I'll be honest. I don't have a great feel for that game. I don't. I would say out of all these games, I might have the worst feel for that one. I don't have a bad feel for Minnesota Giants. I think it's going to be a squirrely game, and I think it's going to be sloppy and gnarly and weird, and probably the Vikings are going to win. But what's that? Vikings Giants. That is the Sunday afternoon game, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Man, I am looking forward to that one though. I am not as much as Jags Chargers. I'm telling you, the what's up, brah game is it's sweet.
Yeah, but they're both so quiet, so they would like whisper it to each other, right?
I think everyone should have to watch Point Break before they watch the Jags Chargers playoff game. Just my thought.
I need your hot sports take. What is it?
Okay. So we've seen at the end of the year how I know you wanted to do this podcast in like 28 minutes so you could get wingy. So, tell me if I'm getting up against
By the way,
here.
Boneless wings, far superior to bone-in wings. Just let you know.
I don't want to.
You don't have the mess to worry about. You can dump them in ranch. It's great.
In ranch. Okay.
Blue cheese, not blue chew, blue cheese.
Dip them in blue chew. It'd be a great night for you and the missus.
We're going off track. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I tell you what, that's a great sponsorship read. When I go out for wings, I dip them in blue chew. Nothing makes for a greater date night.
I gotta stop because there's so many jokes. Like right now.
I know, it's just you're so used to talking about blue chew with your friends and everybody. It ends up coming out of your mouth a lot. I get it, Marcus. It's okay, man. I think Blue Chew and Big League Chew ought to have a partnership. I think that would be rad. What if Big League Chew had a Blue Chew flavor?
Just it comes in the shredded like gum.
Oh, that would be amazing. And you look like a slugger. You put it in your
Oh yeah.
We all did that as kids. All right. Doggone it. Now I lost my train of thought.
It's your hot sports thing.
Sorry. With week 18, we have seen kind of like, what do you do, right? Do you play your starters? Do you rest your starters? Here's my opinion. It may not even be that hot. It's just more that I'm adamant about this. Make up your mind. Do one or the other. Marcus, I think every coach should either say, we're not playing anybody. We are resting everybody, unless it's somebody that like hasn't played in 5 weeks because they've had like an ankle tweak and you just feel like they need a little contact, right? Yep. They need a quarter. Maybe you have a guy that's struggled picking up, a certain defensive scheme or whatever, and you want him to get a few more snaps than he normally does, whatever the case. But either sit all your guys or play them all. No halfway in it. Because I think it sets you up for massive failure. I also think it sends the wrong message to your players. And from everything I've ever heard, and just playing sports myself, when you play and hope that you don't get hurt, it almost invites you getting hurt. It's either all out or so. I applaud 2 teams this weekend, the New York Giants, because they said, hey, you know what? We're resting our guys. They didn't say it early in the week, but late in the week they did. Yeah. Did the Giants really play hardly any of their starters?
No, I think 18 starters didn't play a single snap.
Right. So look, that team, all those guys got snaps they wouldn't normally get. which helps for your evaluation next year, which I guarantee you the Giants are partially playing for next year. I don't think the Giants really think they're going to win this whole thing. But they have rested guys for their playoff game against Minnesota. And if the New York Giants go to the playoffs and they win in Minnesota, Marcus, and they get the doors blown off of them in the divisional round, it's still an incredibly successful season for that franchise, wouldn't you say?
I would agree. Yes, 100%.
Okay. Or do what the Detroit Lions did. Go in there and say, hey, look, we know we got eliminated early. Dan Campbell had plenty of time when you agree to say,
yes,
hey, you know what? We're going to change our game plan, guys. Because that Seattle game was over, an hour and a half before kickoff.
Yes.
Do one or the other. Do not do what the Cowboys did, where you play your starters, you play a vanilla offense, your starters play awful, and then you don't pull them. Or do what the Chargers did, where you play your starters, and then because you say you want them to get experience, but then you don't pull them in the first quarter or the early second quarter. You wait until they either get hurt or pull them in the third quarter. I just think that's a really bad move in today's NFL. Do you disagree at all?
No, I don't. I will present the other side of this argument, but I do agree with you in general, because football is a violent game, and you cannot play football to not get hurt, right? And listen, I watched the Cowboys game several times now. Dak played not to get hurt. He was bailing out of pockets. He was backing up, throwing off his back foot to make sure that he didn't accidentally hit his thumb up against the helmet or somebody didn't roll into his ankle. The other teams in the NFL are too good, and you can't play that style of football and be successful. However, I was talking with somebody that would know this week, and they said that one of the reasons why you saw teams like the Cowboys and the Chargers play their guys is because you only get 2 hours of on-field practice a week. And with everybody using their padded practices already at this point in the season, this is like some of the only times that we get to actually evaluate players and try stuff and go out and actually hit players. So we had to have to use these games as like a glorified practice. So I get it, but if I'm the Cowboys or the Chargers, it just doesn't make sense to do it halfway.
Hey, good for you. Week 18 isn't the time to do it. Yeah. And the reason week 18 isn't the time to do it, because I don't care if it's a coach that's saying that or someone that works for an organization. Hamstrings are tired and strained by week 18, man. Don't risk a pull. That's why I hate all the data on Thursday Night Football, because what the NFL will say is, we don't find any evidence of more injuries on Thursday night than other nights. Yeah, but you don't know about accumulation, right?
Yep.
You're more susceptible to a hamstring strain most likely in week 16 or 17 than you are in week 8. You're more susceptible for those kind of things in week 1 or 2 because you haven't been playing. It's just common sense. Either way, now look, it differs for every team. I'm not saying that one move is better than the other. So if you want to lay everybody down or you want to play everybody, I think that depends on the situation. I think the Lions felt that they needed to go in the offseason with a winning record, don't you? And that they had to get over the demons of Green Bay.
Correct. And I think that win really mattered for them going forward. I think for somebody like Dallas and the Chargers, who cares if you lose the game and you pull everybody, right? Like nobody's going to care 2 days after the game.
I don't think for the Giants organization, they got to evaluate Daniel Jones this year. They got a healthy Saquon back and they made the postseason. I don't think it really mattered to that organization whether they went 10-6-1 or 9-7-1.
I agree.
I think it just didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Maybe if you're trying to get a winning record like Detroit, I could possibly see it. But Detroit's also, as an organization, in a much different spot than the Giants are. Their history has been terrible. Whereas the Giants have multiple Lombardi trophies. So I think there's that to play into. Detroit's trying to reverse a culture. And Dan Campbell, by the way, said as much. This is my last thought on this. Yep. He said, we're trying to, some reporter asked him, I don't know if you saw it, they said, something about the same old Lions. He's like, no, we're trying to reverse that mantra. This is a new Lions team. And that's what my job was to do here. So anyway, that's my hot sports opinion. I also want to point out today is the anniversary of the drive. Cleveland and the Broncos. Question for you: what quarterback is most like John Elway, and has there ever been a better prospect to come out of college football at the quarterback position?
I think Josh Allen is our most or the most current version of John Elway, right? It's not a perfect fit, but I think in terms of athleticism, arm strength, playing just a brand of football that not really anybody else can play. I think he's the closest. Our best quarterback prospect since Elway has to be Andrew Luck, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm with you there. He had the measurables of Cam Newton, which surprised some people, right, at the combine. Just so many great factors. I mean, boy, Cam Newton's first game against the Cardinals was ridiculous.
Yep.
Other anniversary, same game played later that day. The drive was the early game. The late game was Washington at the Giants. This was not a good game. It was 17-0. Giants played field position. This has been like there was toilet paper just blowing all over East Rutherford. But what this game is famous for is Pat Summerall's exceptionally long pause between murder.
She wrote.
And John Madden doesn't talk for a minute because he's too busy laughing in the background. I have a DVD of this game, so it's definitely one of my favorites. But with that, if you're not frozen, I'll give you the final word. But it looks like Marcus just froze. They've been having bad weather again up there in upstate Pennsylvania. And so Marcus's Wi-Fi goes out all the time. Either that or his wife pulled the plug because she's letting him know right now in no uncertain terms that they are not going to get wings. There you are. I was just speaking for you that I think your wife pulled the plug to let you know that you're not getting wings. But your final thought, sir.
I rarely make a bad faith argument on this podcast. You know that I don't like to do that. But I saw a tweet from RG3 today that said running the ball is what matters the most in the NFL. And the teams that run the ball the most and the most successful will win the Super Bowl this year. Just wanted to point out something really quickly, Elliot. Do you know the top 5 rushing teams this year, 4 of them made the playoffs? Did you know the top 3 running backs in rushing yards this year didn't make the playoffs? Just wanted to point that out. That's all.
I don't agree with a take like that, and I don't agree with the opposite end either. I think balance is still important.
Correct.
And situational football is important. And all I know about the running game is you need to be able to run the ball when you have to run the ball. Most especially, and this is always the one that's forgotten about. People think of goal line and short yardage, but Marcus, sometimes you just need to be able to salt the game away. Like you're in the lead, you just want to salt the game away and you're not able to do it. That's why we see so many comebacks.
It's not about the attempts. It's about when you run, can you do it effectively? I 100% agree with that. Last thing before we leave. Do you know which team led the NFL in rushing yards this year?
Ooh, Chicago.
And they did it by almost 400 yards more than number 2. Do you know who number 2 was?
Chicago did. I was right.
Yeah.
I get no reward ever for just pulling this stuff up.
Right.
Philadelphia.
No, they were 5.
Okay. Number 2 to Chicago.
Another bad offense.
Hold on. I'm going to go Atlanta.
You're correct.
Yeah. Who's 3 and 4?
Baltimore, New York, Cleveland.
Okay. I have one addendum before we go. Who led the NFL in first down rushing efficiency? Do you know that?
Now, who cares about those fancy stats?
Exactly. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Do you want to work Thursday night or no?
Yeah, I guess I probably should, right? I blew off last.
Yeah. I asked Marcus last week if he wanted to work Thursday. He goes, no.
Well,
all right. Great conversation. Anyway, and also Thursday, Marcus watched Top Gun for the first time ever, so we are going to talk about that. So, like the original Top Gun, everybody, not Top Gun Maverick. So he had a lot of great questions. So his first one to me was, why were the guys oiled up for the volleyball scene? And I didn't know where to go with that. So I directed him to the good folks over at Blue Chew for a Big League Blue Chew partnership.
I got the need for speed.
Oh, gosh. All right. We're going to go. He is the host of Locked On Cowboys with Landon McCool. Give Landon a follow, even though he never promotes our podcast. Marcus also writes for the Raiders and USA Today. Thankfully, that gig is kind of slowing down. He also writes for Pro Football Focus. He's at Marcus_Mosher on Twitter. I'm at Harrison NFL on Twitter. We appreciate all you guys. Give us a like, a follow, all those wonderful subscribe things, and take care. Bye.